Thank you very much, Frank, for the introduction and for the invitation to be here. And thank you, TFWA and my Lagardère Travel Retail team, of course, for all your support. And thank you, my new and old friends, to skip your lunch and to be here. I will promise you something today. You'll get something from me, and I will ask something from you because you're the best negotiators in this industry. So I like to have a good deal. What I promise you is what I promised my husband. I will give you transparency, honesty, and truth only during this session. So no blah blah for once on AI topic. But I'll ask something from you. So when I saw this format and the audience, and when I did the brainstorming with TFWA team, and I said, okay, I like this setup, and let's be more interactive. I want to engage with the audience. I want you to shout. I want you to raise your hand. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, you know that Asian people are shy? And they're not the most interactive ones? And I said, you know what? I'll tell you a secret. I'm Asian. I know my people, and challenge accepted. I'm going to prove Frank wrong because I love you, audience. So we're going to spend about 8 to 10 minutes today to demystify AI and AI of today, and then we're going to do something really fun together. I want to gamify the experience for you to participate in. So if you can sit through some boring slides for 8 minutes, we're going to have fun together. Let's start with, if I can. Okay, you know what? Technology sometimes doesn't work, but we can always trust the people. I want to start with the theme today, because a lot of people ask about what's the future of AI, what is the future of travel retail, but I don't want to talk about that. Because if we don't understand what's going on today and what AI means today, we're not going to understand the future. So let me walk you through the journey of AI and agentic AI. So most of you probably use AI almost every day or quite frequently, but the AI you're interacting with is probably the chatting AI known as ChatGPT, Gemini, Cowork, and etc. And it's good, and it has evolved. Remember the day when ChatGPT 3.5 was released, which is the end of 2022? It was kind of stupid. Revolutionary, but kind of stupid. You can only chat with it. It was not connected to the internet. And then it improved. The chatting AI was connected to the internet. It can do researches. But what was new is that since last year, about 2025, AI can not only chat with you, but you can interact and also make decisions and act on your behalf. And that's what we call agentic AI. But why do I put the timeline 2026 as the beginning of agentic AI? Is that because last year, the system was quite fragile. There are limited things that they can do. And I'm going to show you very quickly about the journey of agentic AI. So the chatting with AI that you all know very well, it functions like this. You give a simple instruction, and it's going to understand what you're asking or try to understand your intention. And it's going to break it down with this intelligence or artificial intelligence, the algorithms behind to reason, and then plan for you. And what's new with the agentic AI is not only is going to plan and tell you what to do, but it's going to make some decisions for you and act on your behalf. So this is a page that we'll come back to this. Stand with me is very boring, but we'll get to, you'll see where it's coming from. And why am I showing this to you and how is it related to our industry? First of all, people and consumers, especially the young generations, have also grown with generative AI. And how have they grown in their behavior is that this is today, I'm talking about today, around 60% of millennials and Gen Z that you're dealing with and we're working with already use AI to plan part of their journey. And this is today, and you can only imagine how this is going to grow. I don't know, maybe you already did this, but since 2023, I've been using ChatGPT to plan my summer holidays, and it was quite working. But what's really new is agentic AI. And what we expect is that by 2030, agents will help consumers and travelers and passengers to book, directly their travels. But of course, this is statics. It might not be reality, but why do I say this could be interesting for us? I had an agency talking to me about the potential impact about AI agents. And I heard an alarming theory. I don't buy it quite well, but I want to share this theory with you. The theory they said is, imagine that tomorrow, agentic AI is going to book the trips for travelers. And there's no interaction, there's no booking agencies. Imagine if your duty-free offers are not listed online. So the agents are going to skip the recommendation. And if the travelers want to buy something, they don't know about your offer, and you might miss something. I don't have a personal opinion on this because I think we'll find a way to get around it. But this is also a way to think about how AI agents could impact our industry, but bear with me. And I want to interpret for you what I've shown, the genetic AI, agentic AI journey, how it's going to translate into your business functions and your processes. And I know that a lot of you are buyers and negotiators, so I picked an interesting case study for the buying team. If you're interested in sourcing products, here is a solution developed by Alibaba that I think is worth for you to spend a little minute on and to understand how it works. So what you're going to see is a very quick demo, 30 seconds demo on how agentic AI works. The prompt and the question I asked is very simple. I said, I want to develop some offer and find me things to sell to young generations of customers in Changi Airport. And here is what the agentic AI is going to do on my behalf. The prompt is there. It thinks very fast. The first thing is that they're going to understand what the young generations care about by doing research, the typical ChatGPT kind of research that you all know about. And afterwards, once they know the behaviors of the customers, they're going to match the search and adapt it to the top hits and what kind of products they would like. And they do another series of research. So this is the trend detection part. And they've already identified different sources, different suppliers from China. And this is very fast. Afterwards, you can ask the agent to act on your behalf to contact hundreds of suppliers at the same time with a filter, etc. So each of the steps, if you break it down, it's not very far from what we do on a daily basis. And doesn't sound scientific or a sci-fi, right? Because what you do is that basically you do your market research and you tell your team, I want these and these products, and they're going to contact someone in China, probably, and then you're going to do the negotiation. Except for these agents, the process already built, the methodology is already built behind it. And what's powerful with platforms like Alibaba is that they have a huge source knowledge base, source of data, suppliers behind it. So AI is a democratization of technology and to help you access information and access to people faster. And please mind my word, and I'll come back to this. It's the access to data and information that AI brings. And I promise you, this is the end of the boring stuff. Okay? So I just wanted to demystify a little bit agentic AI so we're all on the same base. But now, here's the fun part, and I want you to just think about what I've said about agentic AI and try to think about what it can and cannot do. And this is where I need your input. So here I'm going to walk you through a few scenarios. I'm going to show you some scenarios and I'll describe the scenarios for you. And I want you to tell me whether you think this is reality or this is fantasy. Okay? And this is where I need you to prove Frank is wrong and everyone is interactive. And if you're wearing, the scene is blue, okay, be careful. If you're wearing blue, I might call you up to share your theories. But right now, I want to do a first test. Can I count to 1, 2, 3, and you say reality? So just to give it a try, if we hear you. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we hear you just fine. Good, good. And I'll say 1, 2, 3, and you say fantasy. Okay, let's give it another try. 1, 2, 3. Cool. right? So you can hear from your own reactions what people think, whether this is reality and fantasy. And again, there's no right or wrong. And to be honest, we might all be wrong because in 6 months' time, maybe what is fantasy today might become reality. But it's always good to have a little bit dream. Imagine that we're going to open a new duty-free embedded in AI system. And we say we're going to have new in-store AI assistant. The scenario number one is what you see here. Imagine that the store staff is going to be equipped with an iPad or smartphone, and they can see the live data of their stocks and the passenger flight information and the top seller's recommendation for this flight. It's very simple. And I'm going to count to 3 if you think this is reality. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you all think this is possible. Anyone thinks this is fantasy? 1, 2, 3. Good. Yeah, I have nothing to show you. Well, this is really great because number one, it could be reality. And why? Because everyone, you have the data. You have access to this data. You have great business intelligence. You already built the platform. All you need is some hardware for your store staff to access information. So this is a use case where you can use AI and classic BI for trainings and to augment your in-store staff, right? This is a warm-up. Let's move on to number 2 is a little bit interesting, okay? Imagine that you have a screen and you can display different marketing materials, marketing campaigns. Imagine this will be adapted to the next flight, live. So dynamic content display according to the flight. And I'll count to 1, 2, 3, and you can say together what is reality or fantasy. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so all you think is that this is also reality. I'm going to level up the challenge. Imagine we're still at level 2, scenario 2. But this time, who is going to produce the marketing contents? And this time, let's imagine that is a fully automated AI agent without human in the loop, without human in the control, that generate the images, create the marketing content, adapt to the brand's needs, and adapt to the passenger needs, and live. Like all these conditions together. Now, who think is reality? 1, 2, 3. Hey. You see the tricky here. Like the tricky thing here is that, and I agree, it's kind of a fantasy, and why is that? Without human in the loop, as of today, Gen AI, the production of images, sound, videos, for example, marketing productions, even though it's powerful, it's not consistent enough. Imagine that you try 10 times with Gemini with the same prompt. You cannot guarantee that it's going to give you consistent images, and it's difficult to make small modifications, especially if you have very specific brand guides. And that's why the B level, for me, is sort of a fantasy as of today if we add the content creation inside. And level C, scenario C, imagine that you have a robot that welcomes the passenger and answers some basic information about the airport, about their flights, and about their products. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, so most of you think that this is reality. Well, this is because L'Oreal already brought their robots, right? And I don't have a balloon, and they have a robot. So we do have robots that can do that, and you can see the holograms, you can see very interactive AI-driven robots, etc. So that's a quite easy challenge. You can have robots as assistant. Imagine I want to level that up. Not only the robots are going to answer basic informations, but you also want the robots to make personalized recommendation by using facial recognition. So the robot knows that I am Asian, female, about this range of age, and it's going to make me personalized recommendation. And do you think this is a reality or a fantasy? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I see you're shaking your hand. And why is that? That's true. And also, I'm going to say 4 letters you hate. GDPR. So there are regulations as well. For example, the robot that you saw from L'Oréal yesterday, it cannot recognize your face. It's not allowed to analyze your face. It's allowed to analyze your outfit, for example, and make recommendations and make compliments on your outfit, but it's not allowed to read your image, to face and make personalized recommendation. And this is one of the constraints that we're facing. And if I want to make another scenario, okay, let's imagine that now you have these kind of robots that can make you personalized recommendation. Would you replace half of your staff with these robots? Now I want a yes or no to 1, 2, 3 on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And why? You don't need me to say that. Because it kills the value. Because it kills the value, and the only thing, and the most single thing that matters us to most is the connection with our passengers. And this is something that we shall not do. So this is not a debate about reality versus fantasy, because from a technological point of view, it's doable, it's feasible, but is it desirable? So that's another equation that I want to add to this. Okay, now you have warmed up. I'm going to show you another set of scenarios. Who loves whiskey here? Who sells whiskey? Okay, who sells a lot of whiskey? Okay, I see some hands raising. So imagine you have your new AI-driven whiskey assistant, right? The first scenario is that imagine this AI assistant is interconnected with the passengers' past purchasing histories, with the passengers' external purchasing histories, meaning that he's done something online, purchased any whiskeys online, and analyzed the passenger's flight information and data, and based on all of that, make hyper-personalized recommendation. Listen to me, personalized recommendation. Do you think this is feasible, or do you think this is fantasy? So 1, 2, 3. Do you think this is reality? Okay, can you show a hands if you think this is reality? Quite a few. You think this is reality? Okay, very interesting. I can't say for sure, but my personal opinion that is going to be very challenging. And why is that? Because there is a distinguished feature and trait of travel retail, is that our interactions with passengers are limited. What do we mean by limited? Is probably 4 years. I know some of you travel 150 times a year, but even 150 times is not enough, because there's one key information that is missing from your flight information is the intention of your trip. You don't behave the same way you're visiting your family. You don't behave the same way if you're on a holiday with your girlfriend. Right? So we are missing certain informations, and we only have a couple of touch points, maybe 4 times a year. And based on these, AI and the algorithms are not enough. You don't have enough data to recognize the pattern to make super hyphenized recommendation, because we're not Gemini, we're not Google, and we're not Amazon. We don't know enough about our customers. And I think this is kind of a mystery that I've heard, or a fantasy about our industry, is that we can make hyper-personalized recommendation. But this is my personal view, and I'm going to show you a second scenario, and you will tell me if this is possible. Okay, imagine now we don't aim to make hyper-personalized recommendations to these people, to our customers, and instead we're going to segment them and group them into different cohorts. We say, this business traveler from Japan, we know roughly his age group, and we know that because he loves product A and B, and we know he's more inclined to buy product number C, product type C. And who think this is the reality? This is something we can do today. Can you show your hand, please? Okay, most of you. And what distinguishes the scenario A and B is that A is hyper-personalized, which requires a lot of data points. But B is more generalized, that you don't recognize one single person. You don't have to know this is Qihua, aged X from nationality, but you can almost generalize the passenger has a probability of 80% of buying it. So this is the product recommendation, and it's totally feasible based on what we know today about our passengers. And all of us, you have enough information, and we have enough information. We just need to act on that and do the upscaling. And the number C that I'm going to show is a little bit trickier and is more interesting. So for the whiskey sellers and lovers and pricers, let me ask you about this question. Imagine that you have an algorithm that defines your pricing. It's dynamic pricing, and the pricing changes per hour and adapts the pricing to the inbound passenger's life. How many of you think this is reality? I want a count of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, nobody. But is it a technology bottleneck? Do you think technology-wise, is feasible? No? Yes. Yes. But reality is, we can't do that. We just can't do that. It is dangerous. Like you said, it is dangerous, and it's more than dangerous. First of all, operationally, it's very complex to change this price. Second of all, ethical-wise, and it could be dangerous. It can hurt you back, right? So again, this is a scenario where the technology enables to do so. It is feasible, but it's probably not desirable. I'm not even sure that's legal. And if you combine all of the scenarios together, and I want to summarize to you, what are the different challenges, specific challenges that travel retailers face? And when we read the case studies or the use cases from other retailers, for example, that are not travel retailers, or in general other companies, we face very distinguished challenges and constraints. And I categorize them in different ways. The first one is fragmented data and silo. And I think all of us and all of you would probably face this, and all of you would agree that if you don't have integrated system, then you have difficulty reaching to the data and accessing them. But I'll come back to this. The second one is what I've mentioned, is infrequent customer data, which means that we don't have the same game to play as Amazon. But the question is, do we want to play the same game? And I don't think so, because we also play with impulse. There are things that you cannot be dimensioned and framed and interpreted by data, and this is something that is very distinguished about our segment. And the third one is what you know already, physical, operational, regulatory constraints that we can and cannot change based on the scenarios. And another one is about, okay, algorithms is growing stronger and it's getting better, but to what degree you want to give control? You want to give the power to the robots versus human validation. And the last one is interesting, and I think is also specific to our sector. We all sign our contract, a long-term contract of 5 to 15 years sometimes. How can you anticipate where this technology is heading in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 15 years' time? So is our business model ready to change and adapt and welcome more collaboration and the changes to this? So if I can categorize them, the first two you're seeing, the fragmented data silos, this is something that with the development of technology, it will slowly go away. I don't say that it is immediate, but tomorrow when all of us have very modern data platforms, and these platforms can be interconnected and talk to each other easier. So technology won't be a bottleneck, but it's more about how we work together will still be. The infrequent customer data, I think it will stay. It will not change. Maybe tomorrow we can integrate with external data, but it doesn't change the nature of travel and how we interact with. So I don't think it's a factor that actually matters, because there is so much we can do without data like Amazon. The third one, the physical and operational constraints, it's something that partially we can control over and partially we cannot. I don't want to spend further time on constraints, right? Let's talk about opportunities, and I was just going to make a closing on a call of action. Actually, Again, this is AI generated. Yesterday when we tested this page didn't show up. And I think it was kind of a good thing, because this is my personal takeaways. Personal takeaways. There are a few things from all of that. My first takeaway for you is that even though the technology is not mature yet, it's far from being mature, but based on what we can see, AI can do a lot as of today. And you don't have to aim for something really big. You can start small, and imagine that you build a lot of different small things together, and you have like a whole process automated, and it would be a big project. So the first lesson is that there is a lot we can do today within each of us. And the second of all is that, as you can see, and as we have discussed, a lot of constraints we're facing is not really the technology. Because even if you have the best technology in the world, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes people don't want to use it. Some people need trainings on it. So in the end, it's a transformation project. It's about business cases. It's a business lever. It's not a project purely based on tech. So I hope that we don't approach it as a tech project, but really think about how do I use AI to transform the way we do business and do it better. So it's a business lever. And the third one is, like we mentioned before, AI facilitates and accelerates the access to information, the access to data, which means it changes the way we interact with data, but how does it change the way we interact with each other? How do we collaborate together as a trinity, different stakeholders? Imagine when tomorrow AI is breaking down the walls, data silos, information silos, but we are still holding on to our walls. It's not going to work. And it takes time to change. So it's time to break down some walls and have a new way of collaborating with each other more closely. So I was going to end on that, and I hope that each of you have your own takeaways. This is an empty page, and I hope you to take away from different things. I want to thank you for your patience dealing with all the accidents, unexpected situations, tech fidgets, but in the end, we made it because you're a good group, and we made it together. So thank you very much, and thank you, Frank.
Thank you so much, Qihua, for showing us the difference between reality and fantasy when it concerns AI. But in this few questions, in this small conversation that we will have, we are going to go a little bit deeper, deep dive into things. And a couple, let's sit down maybe. You have been staying so long already. So a couple of weeks ago, we heard all the news that Anthropic has shown an AI system that is now able to detect, to identify, to exploit vulnerabilities that we were not even aware of, and in a way that, in fact, AI capabilities may be evolving faster than the structure designed to control them. So my first question to you, Qihua, is about our industry. Do you think AI will challenge the way our industry is structured?
Oh, it's a good question, and the timing is good, because we just published an article on this one. There are a few words to describe the impact of AI on our industry. First of all, I don't think it's disruptive. And I don't even think it's revolutionary, but I do think it's profoundly transformative, and I'll explain why. Because if you think about the nature of our business, is that we work with passengers, and as travel retailers, we work with our airports, train stations, and brands. And all of this is built on human connections. And for a system, for AI, to replicate all the data points and connections and predict all the unpredictable factors is very complicated, and I don't think it's going to happen. So this is why I think our industry, because our industry is not coding. I know that some of you may have read the press about SaaS companies, software companies, losing 30% of their share price overnight. And why is that? Because the only asset they have is code. And code can be reproduced and can be refabricated by AI at a much faster speed. But our asset is not code. It's not text. It's not images. It's very physical and tangible. So these barriers not going down. So that's why I don't think it's disruptive. I don't think it's revolutionary because it doesn't change how we do business. We'll always have these stakeholders. We always deal with different stakeholders, B2B and B2C. But it is transformative because imagine, like, one day, if we implement all the feasible use cases that I've talked about, and if you have automated all of your prices, you do better pricing, better assortment, better way of drafting contract, faster. You react to the market much faster, and you interact with your customers with higher technology, and you know your customers better. And imagine if you do all of this together. That's a lot of changes, and it is deeply transformative. And there's another word that I probably want to add to this, is that it is irreversible. And I don't know if people realize that, is that something you've made this step forward is like the contactless payment in China, for example. People are not going back to cash. They will never go back to cash. They will not going back to credit card. If it's done, it's done. It's irreversible. So in any case, we need to embrace it, but I don't think it's disruptive.
But as an industry, are we too fragmented to really use the potential of AI?
What do you think? To be honest, I think we face more challenges than sectors like, for example, e-commerce and classic retail. And why is that? It's because the physical and operational constraints that we have shown. Imagine that we operate as Lagardère Travel Retail in 300 airports, and each airport we have a different contract. Each country have different regulations. So the context for going to AI is going to be very different. It cannot follow the same rules. And when you cannot follow the same rules, it's not scalable. So you need more agility, you need more localized team to adapt to how this platform works, how this partnership works, and it cannot be replicated, so one size doesn't fit all. This is what we have always believed in, which is especially true in our sector, which doesn't exist in e-commerce, for example. So in a way, the fragmented data silo, yes, it's causing us more difficulties, but it's also a reality that is going to stay. So the question is, how do we work around it? How do we work with it? AI will facilitate it, but I don't think it's going to make it go away.
Okay.
But the data silo, again, is a technological challenge. For example, if you want to share all of your credit passwords with me today, your data, you can. Frank is just not doing it. So it's not a tech issue. It's how do we work on it? What am I going to do with it? Do you trust me with it?
So it's a government challenge also?
Exactly. So I think it's more a governance and a business model challenge than technology challenge.
Okay. This morning, Oliver Wyman showed us a fantastic chatbot that allowed someone who stayed 2 hours later in the airport at the end to choose the right bottle of whiskey to take with him. So one of the questions there is, does this shift risk reducing the role of the retailer, or on the other side, to enhance it?
I think if I come back to the first example that I've shown to you, again, in our sector, would you buy a perfume without trying it?
Perfume, probably not.
Probably not. And we act on different impulse. Our travelers behave in a different way. First of all, it's an opportunity for us, because I do think for our sector, there's a lot we can do that we're not doing. We have more data than we realize, because I hear this a lot from everyone, is that we don't have the data doesn't have the good quality, et cetera, and I don't think it's true. I think we have a lot of data, we're just not using it enough because we don't know how, or we're not willing to. So the first of all, I think it's an augmentation. It's an opportunity for us, especially for sector like us. Because why? We are very traditional compared to high-tech companies. I know Chinese tech companies who have 10,000 engineers working on their coding. And how many do we have? We have very few. And so in this case, AI plays in our favor because there's so many over-the-shelf solutions that we can just take and implement today. And the cost of doing that is much lower than 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So first of all, I think it's an opportunity for us. And second of all, we've always faced different challenges. 2,000 years ago, the trades that we did, the definition of trade was very different. The definition of currency was very different. Before e-commerce, the travel retail was different. And before TikTok, how teenagers spend their time in airports are different too. So AI is not new. I think it's one of the things that impact, one of the factors that impact how passengers behave, and we need to adapt. Whether it's good or bad is for us to decide.
And for you, in your everyday life at Lagardère Travel Retail, how do you use AI?
Well, we have a couple of colleagues from Lagardère Travel Retail. First of all, what we do, like I've said before, AI is a tool. It's a tool to amplify what we do. It's a tool to accelerate the process. And what we do at Lagardère Travel Retail is that we serve you. We serve our partners. We serve our landlords. We serve our brands, and we serve our employees. And that's how I use AI, and how our teams are using. How do we serve our landlords and partners? By automating and making the process more intelligent and streamlined with AI, we have different use cases in middle and back office to streamline the processes by removing the very manual tasks with low added value. Because why are you spending time verifying and copying paste? People do lots of copy paste, more than you can imagine. Why are we doing that? Instead of building this relationship and hearing about your business problems and building this together. So we are removing a lot of these frictions from our back office and middle office processes, from finance to procurement to IT to HR. So different aspects. This is one way of doing it. And second of all, like Professor Kim has mentioned before, personally, I don't believe it should be a top-down initiative, because I know nothing about your own profession. I'm not an expert on pricing. I'm not an expert on treasury. And so I should not be the one that define how you use AI in pricing. I will guide you with that. But the best thing is to train our staff, train our employees, and for them to come up with the most relevant use cases. And they're the one to take the initiative and implement that. So this is our approach at Lagardère Travel Retail, is that we empower people, we give our employees the right tools to do it, and for them to learn enough about the AI and to come up with the use cases, and we'll deliver and we'll work on it together.
You said us just before, rightfully, that this technology is only 3 years old, or available for now 3 years with the first ChatGPT version. I would like to understand, how do you see the next 3 years? What will be reality, what will be fantasy with AI?
Well, if I can answer to that question, I won't be here. To be very honest, I can only share my personal view, and maybe in 6 months' time, I will be proven wrong. So this is very personal. Again, to be honest, I don't really know. I think what we've seen before, it will be accelerated, but it depends on the region. So what we see is that in China, for example, or in Asia and in America, the adoption is much more accelerated than Europe. So again, it's not about the technology, it's about the mindset, it's about the adoption. So if I have to talk about China in 3 years and versus Europe in 3 years, I don't think we're going to have the same vision. So stay on that. And second of all, what we've seen on genetic AI, agentic AI, this is a trend that I think it will stay. And we're going to build more and more robust agentic AI, because how it works today is quite fragile, because it's an infant. It's like taking 2 steps and 3 steps and then fall, and you have to have someone to hold it up and walk again. And as we've seen in all the technological development, I think this will be more robust and people will learn from the past so that we can use it better. Because with the emergence of agentic AI, a lot of people are just testing. There's so many tests. They're trying on 10 different processes, but probably half of them will fail, or even more than that. But I think in 3 years' time, we're going to be more focused. And we know more about how to do this and do this well, and we distinguish better how we use AI. Because as of today, I think there's a misuse that we're using AI for the sake of using AI. And I hope that in 3 times we're going to be more focused. I don't know if LLM is the right approach. There's a huge debate. So I really don't know if ChatGPT 15 will be better, a lot better than what we see today. I really don't know about that. But we can only assume that it will get much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And much more adaptation, usage.
Probably, yeah. There will certainly be a lot more vertical use cases, because 3 years ago we talked about very large language model is one ChatGPT, but today there's legal GPT, there's medicine, and probably in 3 years' time, imagine that you start talking to your AI today and it's going to learn everything about you, and you pass on all the knowledges. In 3 years' time, I'm pretty sure there will be more knowledge base for different companies, and process will be built like in a more robust way and streamlined in a standardized way thanks to AI. That's my hope.
Thank you very much, Qihua, for this discussion and also for this presentation. This thematic is so evolving so fast. We probably will have future discussion in the next sessions of this exhibition. So we have discussed about how AI is reshaping the structure of our industry and raised some questions about data, control, and the role of the retailers. And this afternoon, later at 3 o'clock, we will explore a complementary angle, how innovation and also new technology are being developed, but also tested through startups and venture models. So I give you a rendezvous in a couple of hours for the next session. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.